Prince William exploded in fury after a leaked report alleged that Queen Camilla interfered in Princess Catherine's private medical recovery. The claims, described as unsolicited advice given without William's knowledge, sparked immediate backlash inside the palace. What followed was a rare, deeply personal confrontation that left royal insiders stunned. William enraged after learning Camilla may have meddled in Kate's medical plans. Tensions flared behind palace doors after a confidential leak alleged that Queen Camilla interfered with Princess Catherine's post-surgery care, without the knowledge or consent of Prince William or his team. According to royal insiders, a report quietly passed to a senior editor revealed that Camilla had made unsolicited suggestions regarding Catherine's recovery strategy following her abdominal operation. The issue became explosive, not just because of what was said, but how William found out. The first inquiry came not from an aide, but from a journalist, asking if he could comment on Camilla's apparent outreach to a senior medical liaison. That liaison, it turns out, had been contacted directly by Camilla to explore alternatives to Catherine's extended rest period. William was blindsided. His reaction, according to multiple sources, was immediate and severe. "Who gave her the right?" he reportedly demanded in a closed-door confrontation with a senior palace aide. Normally composed and discreet, William was said to be visibly furious, his tone sharp, a rare show of temper for a man known to maintain calm, even under pressure. The moment left staff in stunned silence, as it marked the first time William openly accused Camilla of overstepping in matters concerning his wife's health. A source close to the Prince of Wales described it as a protective snap, a boundary drawn hard and fast. For William, any form of interference in Catherine's well-being, especially from someone outside her medical or immediate family circle, wasn't just inappropriate. It was deeply personal. More than a disagreement over protocol, this was perceived as a violation of trust, raising broader concerns inside Kensington Palace about blurred boundaries between Clarence House and the Wales household. As one insider put it, this wasn't about advice, it was about control, and William saw it instantly. This confrontation would prove to be only the beginning of a quiet but intensifying rift now forming within the highest tiers of the royal family. The private moment that sparked the leak. The spark didn't come from an official briefing. It came from a private lunch at Clarence House, where Queen Camilla allegedly made a pointed comment that would ignite weeks of fallout. During that lunch, which included close aides and a medical coordinator loosely attached to royal planning, Camilla was overheard saying, "Kate's taking too long to bounce back. Maybe she needs firmer structure." Those present later debated whether the remark was flippant or intentional, but it didn't stop there. One medical liaison, reportedly loyal to Clarence House, made an internal note referencing Camilla's concern, and that note began circulating quietly among senior staff. Before long, it ended up in the hands of a senior journalist, who reached out to Kensington Palace for clarification. That call was how William first heard of the interference. He found out the way no husband should, from the press, not from his own team, a palace aide shared. The report sparked immediate containment efforts inside Kensington Palace, with communications staff scrambling to verify the origin of the leak and assess the language of the recorded internal note. William's office was described as entering a phase of controlled panic followed by silent fury. One source remarked that William went completely silent after reading the leaked excerpt, not out of confusion, but out of boiling restraint. In private, he's known to contain his emotions until the stakes feel personal. This time, they were. What stunned William even further was that the leak wasn't random. It had been planted, perhaps inadvertently, during a casual moment in Clarence House, a place already sensitive for its growing influence within the modern monarchy. For William, it became clear. Lines were being crossed, and someone close to Camilla had taken liberties with Catherine's well-being. That realization would set the tone for everything that followed. Camilla's alleged influence, suggestion or interference. Clarence House moved quickly to minimize fallout, insisting that Queen Camilla's actions were rooted in concern, not overreach. A spokesperson declined to comment officially, but described the Queen's conversations as private, thoughtful exchanges about family wellness. Behind the scenes, though, tension only deepened. A senior Kensington Palace aide stated, "This was not a passing comment. It was a suggestion given to someone in a position of planning authority." That subtle difference changed everything. Camilla reportedly questioned why Catherine hadn't resumed light duties, suggesting the palace might benefit from a more visible recovery narrative. While Clarence House may have viewed this as a helpful observation, to William and Catherine's camp, it looked like a veiled critique wrapped in concern. Even more troubling was the fact that Camilla is not part of the medical advisory chain for Catherine's care. She holds no formal oversight on health matters, and yet her comment reached a medical coordinator whose role sits close to event planning and scheduling. Insiders within Catherine's recovery team were reportedly alarmed by the idea that a non-medical royal figure was injecting pressure, even indirectly. While no orders were given, the implication was clear. Catherine should be seen, even if she wasn't ready. William views any interference with Kate's care as both a personal and institutional violation, one insider noted. A longtime friend of William shared privately, "He doesn't want Catherine second-guessed by anyone, especially not Camilla." What began as a murmur of royal commentary now stood as a line-in-the-sand moment, reshaping how the Waleses would operate going forward, and how much they were willing to tolerate from within the family itself. Catherine's quiet reaction, hurt but composed. The Princess of Wales has never been one to engage in royal drama, and this time was no different. But behind her composed public face, Catherine was said to be deeply affected by the leaked reports and the implication that her recovery was being scrutinized from within. Sources close to Kensington Palace say Catherine was briefed on the leak the same day William learned about it. Within hours, she withdrew from 2 internal planning calls, citing the need for rest. While her absence could be attributed to medical pacing, insiders suggest it was a quiet way of taking space, emotionally and institutionally. She was hurt but not surprised, one family friend shared. The undertone between her and Camilla has cooled in recent months. This only confirmed it. Catherine has always handled her health with strict privacy and personal agency. From pregnancy complications to recent surgery, she's navigated public scrutiny with grace, but also with control. Camilla's reported comment, whether casual or calculated, undermined that control. She was said to have told a friend later that week, "I need peace, not palace politics." Her absence from a Windsor Foundation event days later was noted and quietly analyzed. Though no statement was made, the message was clear to those within palace circles. She would not play along quietly if her space and dignity were disregarded. Staffers also noted subtle changes in her demeanor. She remained professional, but guarded. You could feel the distance widen between her and Clarence House without a single word spoken, said one aide. For Catherine, silence is never weakness. It's message enough. History of tension between Camilla and Catherine behind the scenes. Though the public sees only the polished surface of royal appearances, insiders have long noted a coolness between Queen Camilla and Princess Catherine, particularly when it comes to protocol, visibility, and influence. The divide began subtly. Camilla, after her elevation to queen consort, reportedly lobbied for greater ceremonial visibility, including more prominence for her own family during shared events. One notable incident occurred during the 2022 holiday photo planning, when Camilla's team allegedly requested more focus on her step-grandchildren, sidelining the Wales children in the process. Catherine was said to be deeply uncomfortable with that decision, not out of vanity, but out of a sense of duty to her family's role within the monarchy. "She protects her children's place, not just their image," one aide said. Another point of friction came during discussions around ceremonial precedents. Camilla's ascension required new formal protocols, and there were rumblings that she pushed for higher ceremonial standing than previously outlined. Catherine, still managing public duties through recovery, was notably absent from several key events that season. In late 2022, Camilla reportedly suggested re-evaluating Catherine's future duties while she healed, a comment that was swiftly shut down by William, who considered it both premature and inappropriate. What's become clear over time is that these are not isolated incidents. They form a pattern of quiet intrusion, one that has gradually eroded trust between the two women. For William and Catherine, each instance may seem small, but together they tell a story of institutional tension, personal missteps, and an unspoken rivalry that is no longer easy to ignore. William's protective instincts, triggered by trauma and loyalty. Prince William's reaction to the leak wasn't just about palace protocol, it was personal. Those close to him say the moment triggered long-buried emotional instincts, rooted in his experience watching his mother, Princess Diana, navigate a royal system that often left her isolated, unheard, and medically vulnerable. William sees echoes of the past when control outweighs care. A former palace aide explained. He remembers how Diana's well-being was often left to the mercy of courtiers who cared more for optics than for her. The leak, and Camilla's alleged commentary, stirred those fears again. For William, Catherine is his anchor, his emotional center, and his equal. Any suggestion that her recovery should be managed or accelerated from outside their trusted circle was perceived as a direct challenge to her autonomy and his role as her protector. One longtime friend of the couple shared, "He will fight anyone who makes her feel unsafe, even if that someone is within the family." William has long championed Catherine's independence, both as a mother and a royal. He ensured she could delay full-time duties after their marriage and insisted on shielding her from the palace machinery that once overwhelmed his mother. That protection extended into Catherine's recovery, which is why Camilla's involvement, even if unofficial, felt to William like a betrayal of boundaries. Behind closed doors, William's fury was described as contained but cold. He didn't lash out publicly or seek revenge, but he made it clear that lines had been crossed, and that moving forward, he would not hesitate to draw a wall between his household and Camilla's sphere of influence. The emotional weight behind his reaction wasn't just about the present. It was about a history that still shapes the man and the future king he is becoming. How Charles responded: royal silence or tactical deflection. As expected, King Charles was briefed almost immediately after the leak reached public circulation. According to insiders, he received the information during a scheduled meeting with senior aides at Sandringham, where he's been recuperating from health-related treatments. His reported reaction: measured and disappointingly restrained. "It was said in concern," Charles is believed to have remarked, referencing Camilla's lunch comment. But that single sentence, and his refusal to intervene or offer any internal correction, spoke volumes to those watching closely. Many within the palace saw Charles's response not as neutrality, but as tacit approval. By downplaying the incident, he reinforced the perception that Camilla's voice now holds unprecedented influence, sometimes even at the expense of traditional family dynamics. William, sources say, was privately disappointed in his father's inaction. He expected at least a private acknowledgement that boundaries had been overstepped, said one senior courtier. But Charles doesn't like confrontation, and right now he leans heavily on Camilla. This wasn't the first time Charles chose silence when tensions flared between Camilla and the younger generation. A similar quiet unfolded during debates around Queen Consort Protocol and the distribution of ceremonial duties post-coronation. But this time felt different. For William, the emotional gravity surrounding Catherine's recovery made the stakes more human than hierarchical. His father's reluctance to step in wasn't just a missed opportunity, it was a sign of deepening distance between two kings in waiting, one present, one future. Internal fallout. Courtiers divided. Communications frozen. The leak didn't just cause emotional fallout, it fractured the internal machinery of the palace itself. At Kensington Palace, protocols changed almost overnight. Health-related discussions, once shared among senior staff across Clarence House and Sandringham, were now restricted to need-to-know personnel only. Internal memos began circulating with stricter language around privacy boundaries, particularly concerning the Princess of Wales. At Clarence House, the atmosphere was described as unusually tense. While Camilla's team denied any wrongdoing, they also found themselves cut off from usual planning loops, especially those involving upcoming appearances or Catherine's recovery updates. One insider admitted, "We used to collaborate closely. Now we're shut out entirely. It feels like the bridge has collapsed." Plans for a spring charity gala, which was set to feature both Camilla and Catherine, were quietly postponed without rescheduling. No explanation was given, but staff on both sides acknowledged the real reason. "The room wouldn't be warm," one royal scheduler said flatly. Even joint communications teams, normally united around media strategies, have fractured. Press liaisons from each household are now running separate narratives, often briefed with limited context. "There is no trust right now," said a senior aide, "only containment." The internal coldness is more than emotional, it's logistical. The palace machine is built on collaboration, discretion, and unity. Without those, cracks begin to show. And those cracks are now visible, even from the outside. The public responds: sympathy for Catherine, outrage toward Camilla. As the story broke across front pages and quietly passed through trusted media channels, the public response was swift, loud, and emotionally charged. And it was not in Camilla's favor. Though the palace maintained its usual wall of silence, refusing to comment officially on the reports surrounding Camilla's alleged interference in Catherine's medical care, the vacuum was quickly filled by a wave of emotional public commentary. Within hours, social media platforms were overwhelmed with messages of support for the Princess of Wales, as the hashtags Protect Princess Kate and Hands Off Kate began trending globally. Unlike previous controversies, this wasn't limited to royal enthusiasts or pro-Wales accounts. Neutral commentators, medical professionals, and even former palace reporters openly questioned the nature of Camilla's alleged comments. The tone of the outrage was clear. Catherine deserves peace, and Camilla crossed a line. What gives anyone, let alone a non-medical royal, the right to critique a woman's private recovery? Asked one viral post by a well-known women's health advocate. The sentiment was echoed in editorials that drew direct parallels to the emotional mistreatment Princess Diana endured within royal systems that prized image over care. "It reignited every memory people have of Diana's pain," said a senior media analyst. "Camilla, fairly or not, still carries that shadow, and this incident brought it roaring back." Efforts at damage control from Clarence House were described as muted and late. Quiet background briefings attempted to reframe Camilla's involvement as a grandmother's concern or just casual commentary. But the timing, tone, and historical weight behind the remarks made those explanations difficult for the public to accept. For many, this wasn't about a simple comment. It was about boundaries, about respect, and about the belief that Catherine, like Diana, deserved to be cared for, not managed. In the midst of the uproar, Prince William's quiet fury and protectiveness struck a powerful chord with the public. The image of a future king defending his wife, not through press releases, but through decisive internal action, deepened his standing as a man of integrity and loyalty. His silence, in contrast to Camilla's perceived overreach, was viewed as leadership through restraint. Catherine, long admired for her calm presence and emotional grace, suddenly stood in even deeper sympathy with the public. She was seen not just as a future queen, but as a woman navigating institutional pressure with strength and dignity, much like Diana once had. A prominent royal historian summarized the mood best. "When the future queen is targeted, even subtly, the public notices, and they remember. Catherine isn't just a royal. She's a reflection of how far the monarchy has come and how easily it can fall back." In that moment, a silent war within the palace became a visible moral divide in the eyes of the public, and it was clear whose side the people had chosen. What happens now? A silent war brewing within palace walls. In the aftermath of the leak and the emotional fallout that followed, a subtle but undeniable realignment of power is quietly underway within the royal family, and its tremors are being felt at the very top. At the heart of this shift stands Prince William, now deeply resolute in protecting both his wife and his household from what he views as overreach from Clarence House. The message from the Prince of Wales is unmistakable. The line has been drawn, and this time, it is personal. Insiders within Kensington Palace confirm that strategic decisions are already being made behind closed doors. One senior official revealed that discussions are taking place to further limit coordination with Camilla's team, particularly in areas related to Catherine's recovery, public appearances, and household visibility. Staff involved in joint programming have reportedly been reassigned, and certain shared engagements, once staples of the modern monarchy's united front, have been quietly shelved or rescheduled without explanation. Future ceremonial events, especially those tied to health or family initiatives, may now proceed without the customary joint participation of the Queen and the Princess of Wales. "This isn't about revenge," one royal aide noted. "It's about preserving peace, and William believes distance is the only way to achieve that for now." Meanwhile, King Charles finds himself caught in a tightening vice. On one side, his loyalty to Camilla, his wife and closest confidant, has grown stronger, particularly during his ongoing recovery and dependence on her counsel. On the other, his eldest son is now expressing private frustration at what he perceives as his father's reluctance to correct the imbalance. Sources suggest that Charles is considering a soft intervention, not a formal reprimand, but a carefully orchestrated conversation involving Princess Anne, the monarchy's most trusted and neutral senior royal. Anne's name, repeatedly mentioned in internal discussions, is not accidental. Her history of loyalty to both Charles and William, and her lack of appetite for palace drama, makes her a potential stabilizing force. However, her agreement to act as a mediator is not guaranteed, and insiders caution that even Anne cannot fix what isn't ready to be addressed. Elsewhere, whispers have grown louder that Queen Camilla's public role may undergo a subtle recalibration in the coming months. It's not about punishment, sources say, but perception. With her popularity still fragile among younger royal watchers, and with this incident reigniting long-held public skepticism, Camilla may be encouraged to step back from highly visible family-centric events, especially those involving the Wales children. But for all the quiet moves and shifting dynamics, the damage may already be done. William's view of Camilla has fundamentally shifted, and those around him believe his trust has been broken, not by words alone, but by what they implied. That Catherine's care, and by extension her privacy, was not being fully respected. This wasn't a policy dispute, emphasized one royal insider. This was about Catherine. This was about her being second-guessed. And that's where William draws the line, always. The royal family has endured its share of internal rifts, from abdications to affairs, from sibling rivalries to constitutional crises. But what's happening now feels different. It is quieter, more calculated, more emotional. It is not explosive, but it is enduring. This is not a passing argument or an issue to be smoothed over by photo ops or friendly press briefings. This is a silent war, one built on grief, loyalty, and the quiet conviction of a husband who has seen what unchecked influence can do. And for now, that war shows no sign of ending. This wasn't just a breach of royal etiquette. It was a personal line crossed. For William, any threat, real or perceived, to Catherine's care reignites a legacy of mistrust rooted in painful history. Camilla's alleged involvement may have been brief, but the consequences are lasting. Lines are being redrawn within palace walls, and trust is quietly unraveling. As public sympathy rallies behind Catherine and William's protective stance hardens, one thing is clear. This family fracture won't be solved with silence. The future king has made his position known, and Camilla may now face a long, quiet reckoning for stepping too far.